I was on my way to a career in law enforcement, possibly as a police officer, maybe even working for the FBI while enlisting in the United States Air Force, but I ended up doing 16 years, 11 months in prison. Let me explain to you how. A long time ago, when I was given my first second chance, when in reality by now I've been given about 247 different chances. I was sent to Lincoln's Challenge program, which is basically a shock treatment program or an alternative school on steroids ran by the Army National Guard, where you went there 24/7 for 6 months with 2 weekend breaks where you were able to come home and see family in Chicago. But outside of that, you were there and you were locked in, literally. But the good thing was, you were given an opportunity to go there instead of being expelled outright from your school, which you probably already had been, which is why you were headed there. But more importantly, you missed the opportunity of being sent to, I don't know, prison, jail, juvenile hall, whatever you want to call it. That's what was going on at the time in my life because I had a problem with my hands. I used to like to fight. I was light skinned. And what I realized was no matter if I won or lose, I was going to turn red and get lumped up. So I might as well hit hard. And evidently I got a little bit good at it, but not like great like Mike Tyson. And trust me, I had some losses in my life. I'm not undefeated like a lot of these guys say. Anyways, so I'm in this Lincoln Challenge program thing, and next thing I know, I'm graduating, I'm doing good, I'm excelling in the program. I'm one of those young people that can do good or bad, one way or the other, whichever direction you're headed. And at this point in time, I was headed a positive direction. And they had a job fair, a resource fair, if you will, at the end of this thing. And I met a recruiter for the Marines. And initially I was going to go to Marines, but I didn't want to lose my life right away. So eventually past that point, an Air Force recruiter walked over to me and said, "Hey man, you should probably come and check us out," because as part of this program or whatever that we were in, we had to take the ASVAB just to see how we scored on it. And I had scored extremely high, so high that I was able to get into the United States Air Force. And he did ask me one valid question. What do you want to do if you get in the Air Force? Because the way he was just laying it down, yo, you get to travel, you eating good, da 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 da. I'm like, yo, sign me up. I'm ready to go. I'm only 17. By the way, yes, you can enlist at 17. My mom had to sign off on like a waiver or something, and I was in. And I signed up right before 9/11, but that's a whole nother story. We're going to get into my life, trust me. So now I say to him, I think I want to be like the police, law enforcement or something, like seriously. And before anybody gets too caught up in this notion, I want to say that I wanted to be like the type of guy that went after people that did things to women and children. Like that was really what I was on because of some things that happened in my past. We'll get into that as well when we start getting more in my life too. So, nonetheless, I signed up for United States Air Force. And prior to me getting ready to go off to basic training, one morning, enjoying my life, it was about 7 in the morning after a house party. My girlfriend at the time had picked me up, and the police pulled us over and told me that I wasn't wearing a seatbelt. And what I will tell you is I was wearing a seatbelt. And this is actually the first experience of mine that I can remember with law enforcement that just kind of distorted everything and made me want to just, anyways. So fast forward now, as I'm talking to him about the fact that he shouldn't give me this ticket because if you give me this ticket, it may mess up my career in the military and I'm getting ready to go into basic training. Please, sir, no. He says, "I don't care. You're going to have to take that up with them." And he wrote me a ticket, $75. I remember to this day. And he simply said, "You're going to have to prove it in a court of law." He said that I put the seatbelt on after he flicked the lights and was getting ready to pull us over. You didn't have anything else better to do? Seriously? So I had to tell my recruiter prior to me going into basic training that I received a ticket and I had to pay it off. And what happens then is, because I was in the United States Air Force and at the time in most of the branches, if you get in trouble prior to enlisting, you have to get a waiver. And it can impact your security level within the military. And what happened was, couldn't be military, police, or law enforcement anymore because I got in trouble prior to me going in and it made me look like I'm a freaking lunatic. So I ended up having to go into the mechanics open field, and it was cool. They gave me a $13,000 bonus, but I just wasn't in love with that career path at all. I ended up becoming bitter while I was in the military, fighting more, falling into a devastating path of drinking and just running around with women and just doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing as a young man. But I was also, for the first time, living on my own, out of state, away from my parents, on a base somewhere with a car. We're going to get into all that, trust me. But yeah, that's how I ended up not becoming law enforcement. And if you've watched any of my story, any of my page, you'll know that eventually my career in the military also ended. And I ended up getting sentenced to 144 years, all suspended but 19. I had to do 85% of that. I ended up doing 16 years, 11 months from 2003 all the way to January 2020. I came home right before the pandemic and almost lost my freaking mind. Or maybe I did, but I'm back now. Moral of the story is that was a glimpse of my life. I hope you guys lock in, but better yet, stay free. Peace.